meeting to order. Time now is 13 minutes after 1 p.m. And I'd like to welcome everyone to our March 2nd meeting of the Police District Council of the 14th District. With that being said, we're going to take a roll call. Councilor Willicott?
Present.
And Councilor Vargas is not present, but I am. I'm Councilor Laurent for those uninformed. So we do have a quorum, so we can continue the meeting. All right. And okay, before we get in, we're going to take a little shift gears here a little bit from how we normally do things. We're going to go through the agenda first, and then we'll start with the public comments. Okay. All right. So there was a little confusion as far as the agenda. Some of them got sent out the wrong. I sent out the wrong ones. The emails that I sent out. So I want to clarify to everyone that I do have copies if you need. March 2nd meeting here at Holstein Park. It's our first time here, and I know it's a change of pace, but it's a challenge that we pledge to endure, primarily because we want to represent as much of the 14th district as we possibly can. That means trying out new places and coming to areas that rarely get a chance to come and attend one of our meetings. So I appreciate everyone's flexibility. All right, we're going to get, we've got roll call and quorum determined. We're going to get into public comment in just a little bit. We'll go over the rules with that. Then after public comment, we're going to approve the minutes from February. Then we're going to have district council updates, and then we'll move into our discussions, which we're going to focus on impact of crime in the area, committee updates, accountability, evidence-based community safety, and restorative justice. And we're going to discuss holding a special meeting with Commander Lennis in attendance. Are we good with that? All right, we'll go ahead and get into public comment. Just a reminder of the rules for public comment. Please exercise decorum. That being said, no personal attacks of anybody. And please limit your comments to 2 minutes. We're going to have 20 minutes total. So anything, we ask that you keep it under 2 minutes so that we can accommodate everyone in the room. That being said, do we have any public comments that people would like to share? Tom, ready?
Okay. 2 months ago at the meeting, somebody reported that he and his wife had their phone stolen, and he said they gave police information, and even the next day they were still charging thing on his wife's cell phone. And I thought to myself, why didn't they call their cell phone service and have it turned off? I didn't want to say that publicly to embarrass this person, but I went home and looked it up further, and I discovered there's several things you can do. You can actually, your service will turn it off. You can actually get a Google account with a Google email address tied to your phone, and you can go in and do something called Find My Phone. It'll find it. You can see where it is. You can send a message to it. You can turn it off, and you can wipe the contents. Okay. There's also on Android phone. There's a thing automatically installed called an app called Lookout, which there was a free version now. It costs $60 a year. You can do that through an app. The Apple iOS has come out with a new version, which has even more extensive things on how to protect yourself if someone stole your phone. So I'd like to set up a blog. I'm a web designer. I'd like to have a campaign to teach people how to use cell phone things sensibly, so we don't have people going around in an hour doing 8 robberies trying to find cell phones where they can rob their bank account. Question or comment?
I would say, yeah, that feature's been around for a long time on Apple, for example. But I think also a better thing to do with it is it not only helps you. It can. I mean, I recovered a missing iPad that way as well once. Mm-hmm. So I think it's something. Yeah, absolutely. I think it's a great idea.
Okay.
Yeah. How do you envision this educational campaign taking place, or what
I want to start it. I want to have maybe a website with a blog, web designer, and I think I couldn't understand why everyone was having all these cell phones stolen, why they're valuable if they can be turned off within 20 minutes or 30 minutes. Then I discovered apparently a lot of people don't know that. There's other safe practices you can do, like all the apps on your phone don't automatically pick up your password. Make it put in every time. And don't put cash apps on it. You don't need to carry your bank account around with you. So I'd like to do something. If cell phones were harder to crack, we wouldn't have as many people stealing them, and people would be saving their money. So and this has nothing to do with telling the 14th District Police to do something. It's something we can and should do ourselves.
Since you said you'd like to lead this, would you like to provide your name or any contact information or anything like that?
Well, my name is Joe Vangsness, Vangsness. Vangsness. For years I've lived at Logan and Tallman, then I was on Lindale, and now I'm near Albany and Schubert.
Thanks, Joe. We'll keep the conversation going.
Are you okay with sharing your contact info with David so we can?
No, we can talk offline about it. Thank you, Joe. I appreciate
All right,
it.
thank you for that.
Okay, clock in 3 minutes, 19 seconds. That being said, we're going to extend all future public comment to the same line. 3 minutes, 19 seconds is what we said. I'm asking that don't exercise that if you don't need it, because we would like to get as many people as possible. So, any other comment?
Yeah, I'm really sad that Commissioner Vargas is not here, because I wanted to get an update on the attack by the police on a house where migrants were staying, where the police came in with armed guns and weapons. And my understanding is that the OIG is investigating this. And I would really like to get we ask the OIG to come to our next regular meeting and update us on what's happening with that case. Because it sounded, I mean, we talk about, the problems that police are solving crime, but then they're going with no crime being committed to private homes with guns. And I'm really scared. That's kind of like my worst nightmare about police, intimidating. And luckily, nobody was hurt or killed, to my understanding in this event. But that's like a nightmare scenario to me. You have police knocking on your door with guns drawn.
Thank you. Thank you, Sam. All right, and gentleman in the back, you raised up, and we'll get to you next.
Cool. Hey all, my name's Ishan. I wanted to remind folks who've not heard about it yet, there's going to be a ballot question on the ballot. If you're early voting, it's already there. If you're voting day of, it's going to be on the ballot on March 19th. It's called Bring Chicago Home. What it is doing is it is restructuring the real estate transfer tax from being a flat regressive tax to being a progressive tax. So what that means for folks in our communities, it means that 95% of people in this city will see a reduction in that one-time purchase tax of purchasing a home. So you'll see a reduction in your tax. And then for about 5% of people in the city, when you're purchasing properties that are above $1.12 million in commercial properties, you'll see an increase in that tax. So this is not a property tax, this is a real estate transfer tax, and it is a restructuring from a regressive tax to a progressive tax. All of that is supposed to essentially generate about $100 million a year that will go directly into houses and services. Really relevant here today because we know that right now the police spend a lot of their time around engaging with houseless folks in the city, oftentimes to the detriment of our houseless neighbors. And we need to make sure that folks are spending the right time doing the right things and we have the right people answering the right calls. So what that means is how do we make sure that we have housing and a stable revenue stream for housing our houseless neighbors. And for the first time, just about ever, we have the ability as residents of the city to actually vote on saying, we care about housing our neighbors, we care about having a dedicated revenue stream, we want to pass Bring Chicago Home to be able to make sure that we are creating more affordable housing. We are making sure that vacant properties are getting revamped. We are getting housing vouchers for people that need it. We know there are 131,000 people that are on the waiting list for housing vouchers, which is absolutely nuts. I know a lot of us care about public safety, and that's why we're here. And we know that housing each of our neighbors is a core component of public safety. So March 19th, it's on the back side of your ballot. Vote yes, it's a lot of language, but what it's saying is a 95% reduction in the real estate transfer tax, a reduction in the real estate transfer tax for 95% of people in the city, and then for 5% of people which are on the wealthier end, a slight increase in that to be able to fund housing for our neighbors. Any questions on that?
Time's up.
Here. Cool, thanks.
All right, and thank you very much for that input. As a government body, we cannot endorse nor lack thereof of any ballot initiative or candidate. So I wish everyone to go out and exercise their democratic voice in the upcoming election.
Public comment? I wanted to, thank you, Ishan. I wanted to go after Sally here, which is, Sally mentioned how police officers went to the home of a volunteer who's been volunteering at the 14th District Station, a migrant with a family, but she was there herself, was staying there, and police came in with guns drawn, and so there's not just an investigation for that in the OIG, there's also a second investigation that I have to remind people of, which is that whenever she reported the incident to Ashley, the migrant, the 14th District heard about it. Someone from the 14th District called her and intimidated her, essentially saying things like, "You're a migrant, we have your fingerprints, we have your pictures, you don't want any trouble here." And so there's not just that first report, there's that second report. So there are two pending investigations. And I also want to connect this to, Sally touched on it, which is we're here talking about how police are so stretched thin, they're so spread thin, they can't do their jobs, so on and so forth. But they seem to have plenty of time to raid the home of someone who's no threat to anyone. They seem to have all this time to pull people over on the corner of Kedzie. What's the corner that you're
Kedzie and Fullerton.
Kedzie and Fullerton, but they don't have time to address the spike in crime or whatever. So, we cast severe doubt on their narrative, and so that's why we need to push forward this OIG investigation. And so I'm not just calling for the counselors to push that forward. Unfortunately, Ashley isn't here because I know she's the spearhead of that. But we also demand that the head of OIG come here because we need to ask them ourselves what's happening with that. Because in the police union contract, any investigation that goes over 18 months, any investigation that takes longer than 18 months gets thrown out the window, essentially. So it's in the police's interest for this to be slow-walked, and so we need to push this investigation forward. And so that's what I would say. That's all.
Thank you, Lon. Okay, yes, we have a comment back.
So, piggybacking on what you were saying before about being political candidates and political initiatives, my name is Gary Yonker. I am a candidate for the 20th Legislative District. I'm running against that race against Natalie Toro. Just saying hello. I've been going to community meetings around the district for the past 6 months, going to school community meetings, local school councils, local police councils, local park councils, just to make sure that I can absorb all the different issues that are going on in the community. I myself have been organizing on the west side of Logan Square for the past 22 years, so this is where I do most of my work is at a ground level like this. Again, just wanted to say hello. I'm probably going to take off in about 15 minutes because we're going to be knocking on doors, but I can leave a few pieces of lint here on the table. If you want to find out more about the campaign, you can go to GaryFor20.com. So thanks for having me here.
Thank you, Mr. Yonker.
I have a couple comments. So I want to echo.
Next, sorry.
I'm sorry.
sorry.
I didn't see your hand. Sorry about
I
that.
just have a brief question. You said you're running against Natalie Toro. Isn't there another candidate?
There's a total of 4 candidates in the race.
Two more, yeah.
Why did you limit your?
Because she's the incumbent.
Oh, she is.
Yeah. I know. She technically is the incumbent. She was appointed back in August.
Because there's another candidate, Guzman,
Graciela Guzman, Dave Nyack are also in the race.
and Guzman has got the endorsement of Daniel Laspada.
Absolutely.
Will
Respect Graciela and all the work she's done in the community. Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, I have a comment. Great. So I want to piggyback on what Sally and Oman have both said. I too am concerned about how the police are utilizing their abundant resources that they have. And what I'm particularly concerned concerned about is when I hear discussion of new helicopters and drones and a lot of technology, yet very basic things are not being followed through in terms of basic policing. And I also hear stories from district counselors about people who bear no threat to the community being harassed. So I think there's a real disconnect between where the police are focusing their time and efforts. So I too would ask that the OIG comes to the next meeting or a future meeting. I would also ask that there be greater accountability with conversations that are happening between 14th District Commander. So those are sort of sidebar conversations that are happening under the auspice of being tied to the CCPSA, to this district council, when I believe that meetings aren't even happening between the commander and some of the district representatives, actually any of you, Chris, David, or Ashley. So I think what would be a great starter is to really, and I believe this is on the agenda, to really encourage Officer Linus to come to one of these meetings. I know that some folks might feel uncomfortable with having police presence. I think we could, through pre-communication, right, we can make sure that people know what to expect at a meeting so no one feels ambushed. But I think this body came out of a very specific need in Chicago. And it was an election, we all waited on it. And I think we have to give this body its due course to basically do what people of Chicago like myself voted on. So I'm gonna reiterate OIG meeting as well as a meeting with Commander Linus. Under the auspices of this district council.
In an official capacity.
In an official capacity, correct.
Any other public comments up back here? I'm sorry. You're obstructed by the public.
Yeah, sorry. I'm not hiding. So good afternoon. So I just wanted to also explain about like previous of last year, because I lived in Humboldt Park for the last 4 years on Lemoyne and Kedzie. But to address the matter is that I understand that there's shortage on police enforcement and all that, but when it comes to hit and run incidents, I was a victim on one of them on Armitage and Francisco. And when I called for dispatch for for police to show up, I waited for more than an hour. That my parents had to take me to the 14th district, and luckily enough, Officer Randall was willing to extend on helping me gather the information and anything else, further assistance and so on. Moving forward on that which is extremely unacceptable because regardless if it was a hit and run, anything can happen with the victim or the suspect itself being that injury. But regardless, moving with also criminal activity, this has to be one of the most highest criminal activity between summer and fall that I had to experience, especially since I work late nights and then I get encountered with less than a minute of a gun shootout right from the minute I step in my doorstep. So one for example, I understand there's a lot of renovation, rehabilitation for buildings being reconstructed or torn down and ground up. They're being criminalized are using those under constructions that are not being gated or permitted to use those as hideouts or cut through alleys after a gun shootout. And then also at the same time too, there's also been a lot of suspicion of checking people who have Hyundais and Kias. And my brother happened to be one of the victims that got his vehicle stolen within our garage. And it took them no less than 2 minutes to not only break in the gate, but also to just take the ignition out and just drive out with the vehicle, which ended up in South Laramie. And and then also it comes with again with the shooting, a lot of suspicious activities, and I've been also seeing youth being used as influence to just inspect and monitor on who they're gonna hit as encountering. One for example would be on North Avenue and Western. I've noticed some high suspicion of kids on a bunch of their bikes, and one of them had their gun exposed outside the holster of their pants too. And I even addressed that too. So even then, I didn't know if the cops were there to monitor or apprehend him. So at this point, like when it comes to even response, even if it comes with suspicious activity, when we address it, like we're not sure if the police are even like checking, but even if they do, it'll take like no more than like 5 to 10 minutes when we show up, which already at that point, the suspect has already like left the scene. But other than that, that's all for the last.
Thank you. I don't want to cut you off. We did 8 your time up, and that's one left.
No, but that was all from like from all previous of last year. I just wanted to address it that like the crime rate in that neighborhood is being all-time high, and it's just like even the gunshots been happening like right in front of our house and 33rd West Main Street.
Okay, and I definitely do want to dive deeper into there. I just don't want to take up anyone else's time. Can we talk after the meeting about it?
Sure. Yeah.
Thank you. I appreciate that. All right. Do we have any other public comment, Mr. Burke?
Hi, I just wanted to support the request for both the OIG and the commander to come and speak to the council. Personally, I think a lot of people work during the week, and this time on a Saturday afternoon is perfect for a lot of us. So I would ask that the council, when deciding when to invite a commander, to take into account who can come on the week during the week and who can come on the weekend to get the maximum public participation.
Thank you, Mr. Burke. Do we have any other public comments?
I just wonder if the, because we were talking about the response, the call-in centers, or whatever, I don't even know what that's called exactly, but where the police, when we call 911, whatever.
OEMC, yeah, Office of Emergency Management.
Yes. So is there a way, because it seems like there are a lot of issues even with that department, and how the calls get, forwarded, or whatever the deal is. Does that fall under the police? Is that a different kind of an office? Is there a way for us to look into that and see if they are doing a proper job or accountability, or if there's any assessments on that kind of that part of the policing? And if we can look into that, I think that would be very appreciated.
Okay, and just to make certain I'm capturing the spirit of
Sorry.
No, I just...
By a little convoluted, yeah.
No, I like to deliver, so, and I want to make certain that I address everybody's concerns, and that you at least get a conversation, and that you get some kind of resolution to, okay, well, hey, this is OEMC, this is the person you talk to there, and that sort of thing, so I want to make certain that I'm capturing the spirit. So you want to learn a little bit more about OEMC, how their responses are, how they elevate different things.
Right, and definitely how they assess their outcomes. If anyone is assessing whether they're doing their job, like most jobs, you have an assessment, like the police, hopefully this body helps to assess the police in their duties, and so is there a way that gets assessed, and can we get those findings? So we know as citizens, when we call, we don't have to wait an hour for a crime that has been committed.
Would you like a brief answer to your question?
Sure.
So the Inspector General of Chicago office does those types of assessments and reports. That's not to say that there couldn't be other issues to look at within OEMC, but yeah, the most comprehensive and recent, the reports that we do have are from the Inspector General. The main finding being that ostensibly OEMC forwards requests, and we might wish that for priority ones that happens sooner, for example, potentially. But I think that the takeaway from that is they could not get deeper in their reporting because of 911 call response, because the police were not filing responses to 51% of the calls to OEMC. So the Inspector General has the report that says how much time it takes for the different priority number calls to reach the police department. And so that report is available, and we could send it to you or help you find it.
Okay, and then what's the follow-up on that? When we see, like, is there pressure towards the police
Yes, I mean, with the traffic stops being a main issue that this council has taken up, that is directly related to the 911 response times.
But before you take off, ma'am, I want to make certain my card, I've got a whole pocket full of cards, you're not doing me any good sitting here, so I want to make certain everyone has the opportunity to reach out to me. All right. Any other public comment?
Just have a quick comment. Isn't this a question of how many patrol officers are available to respond to 911 calls? Like there's a shortage of,
That's a FOIA request, I've
Yeah.
been told by the police.
At the sake of
Yeah.
swimming outside in someone else's swim lane, I don't want to give a direct answer to that.
Okay.
I can share an assumption offline with you if you'd like. But like I said, I definitely don't want to sit there and speak on someone else's data or their.
No, Black Club released a report 4 days ago showing that the police who are assigned to priority 1 calls spend less than half of their time responding to priority 1 calls, largely because they are instead doing traffic stops and other illegal and harassing activity. So it doesn't matter how many more officers we have, if they're not responding to 911 calls because there's no accountability, it won't matter what their budget is. Currently, they are not promoted or disciplined, or there's no accountability systems with any punishments or rewards based on the quality or the timeliness of their 911 responses.
So that's a problem.
It certainly is.
It's a big problem.
The biggest one.
Okay, any other public comment?
Just take it off, guys.
Thank you, Mr. Young. Good luck.
Thanks, Mike.
Good luck.
Thanks for everybody being involved in your community. I really appreciate it. Take care.
All right, with that being said, we'll go ahead and close public comment. And we'll look into last month's meeting minutes, which I did provide a preview to my colleagues. I do have a copy here if anyone's interested in getting a copy of that in advance before we publish them. That's the entirety of it, so, because I made mention that include the slideshow that was presented. So, got the public comment here. One of the approval of minutes, we have to do a wholesale approval of minutes. We were informed that previously we were approving them incorrectly, so we had to go back and officially add them into the notes that they were officially voted on and approved. So that's one of the many items that we covered last week. Last month, Councilor Vargas provided us updates on the nomination committee, which, by the way, I'd like to beg forgiveness from everybody here. Councilor Vargas is actually she's spending her entire day today. So we're the lucky ones. We get out of here in an hour or 2. She's spending the entire day going through the interview process of those nominations for our new community commission that she's working on. So, fait accompli, if you will. She talked a little bit more about the updates on the nomination committee. Talked about the open application window for that commission, and it now is closed. And expanded on the duties and responsibility of the commission itself, explaining where they fit in the governance and who's held accountable to them. The police board, the COPA, and so on and so forth. She also spoke about the makeup of the group and the ideal qualifications for each. Some positions on there require an extensive amount of experience, and there's also 2 positions, if I'm not mistaken, that they want someone more youthful, someone that can represent the youth voice to it. And I think it's actually really, I don't know how they got that algorithm together, but I think it's a dynamic. Councilor Orlikoff had mentioned the delineation between the 14th Police District Council and the independent committees that stem from it. And I personally had discussed more openly the benefits and limitations of the Open Meetings Act and how it impacts these meetings and progress as a whole. And we also shared the prosecution report from the Cook County State's Attorney's Office. All right, our guest presentation was from our staff project manager, Amanda Huss, who she presented the attached slide deck in regards to the application process for the Community Commission. Councilor Orlikoff shared an email exchange between himself and Commander, the leadership of team of the 14th Police District. A copy of that is also, I don't have a copy of that with me, but I do have it in my inbox. So that will be included as well. Spoke about Sound Thinking, ShotSpotter, and the upcoming Community Commission hearing on the matter, and brought up a discussion on the issue of pretextual stops by the police and for minor violations. The council as a whole voted, discussed formally inviting Commander Linus to a meeting so that we can gain better understanding of policing in the 14th district. Contingent of attendees were interested in public safety and seemingly rise of lawlessness in the area. And another contingent is interested in hearing how the 14th district is hearing proposed ban on pretextual traffic stops. We also got some inquiries about the traffic stop policy and how it relates to the no chase policy. Some attendees recommended that the district council present the notice and agenda of each meeting with more advanced time. I couldn't agree more. Like I said, we do have our challenges, and we're working month by month to get those out sooner and sooner. And I was also suggested by my colleague, Councilor Orlikoff here, to reach out to Commander Linus and have dialogue on possibly attending a meeting, and I agreed to do such, which I will report on in just a little bit. And we had no votes. No votes. And we closed the meeting at 2:35 p.m. Any inaccuracies or changes suggested?
No. I would motion to approve the minutes.
Okay. And this is kind of a weird one. As a chair, I can't bring forth any motion or second it, but we'll go ahead and call for a vote. All in favor of approving the minutes as written and submitted, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Minutes pass unanimous. All right. Next item we have, okay, district council member updates. Have anything that you'd like to share with us, Councilor Orlikoff? Or if you'd like, I can talk a little bit about my meeting with Commander Linus. I don't know if you need more time.
Yeah, go for it.
All right, so, thank you, Councilor Orlikoff. So I did have an opportunity to meet with Commander Linus. As a matter of fact, Alderman Laspada held a public safety town hall meeting, which Commander Linus, and I can't recall the commander's name from the 12th district, but she was also in attendance. Giltner, thank you. Thank you very much, Commissioner. So, yes, and I was able to carve out some time from that meeting and have a one-on-one conversation with Commander Linus and expressed the desire to have her attend these meetings, and she did sit there and say, well, look, you know, I understand you guys are very important in what you're doing. You're part of the puzzle that we're trying to get the big picture put together. She says that weekends are very, very challenging for her, and I can understand that. Weekdays are very challenging for me because of my full-time position. However, and we're going to talk about this a little bit later in more detail, she is open to having a special meeting. The way special meetings are made up, they're similar to these meetings where we notice and agenda them out. It's certain that everyone is well aware of what we're going to do. We're going to have public comments just like we would this meeting. It's just on a special day. It's an adjunct of these meetings, if that makes sense. So that's in the pipeline, and Councilor Orlikoff and I will discuss that later in the discussion aspect of things.
Oh, okay.
So, okay, and I'll let you get your updates.
Yeah, so the first resolution that this council voted on last year was regarding the pretextual traffic stops. If you're not aware, in 2017, when the federal government had to step in and tell officers to stop doing stop and frisk, this is a systemic practice of, that was racially discriminatory people on the street. There was an immediate 600 to 900% uptick in traffic stops in Chicago, along with a reduction in stops for dangerous and reckless driving, an increase only in petty minor offenses with no results in less than 2% of the time. So anyway, there was a strategy meeting for the Free to Move Chicago campaign a week and a half ago. I attended that. There were a few other district councilors also in attendance. One of the things we discussed was continuing the strategy to try to get the CCPSA, the Community Commission, the 7-member body our chair spoke about earlier, that has powers over the entire city, that our other counselor is in the process of interviewing folks for. to have them pass the policy as a CPD general directive. Other possibilities included city council or the state legislature or the consent decree. It was decided the consent decree was not a favorable option, and the other options, might be desirable in the future, but that it still makes a lot of sense to continue with the CCPSA for now. As far as other updates, I'll take the opportunity to say the reason we are here today is we decided previously to rotate our meetings between the 3 libraries in the 14th district. However, the Wicker Park Bucktown Library scheduled for this month was unavailable due to early voting. That is the reason. And I do appreciate the sun and the weather aspect of the door. However, the noise is very, very noticeable, as well as just the echo from us talking in the room as well is not my preferred way. So I've heard from at least one individual, and I concur that this is not a location we're looking to recreate. We do have the full annual calendar, so it's set for the rest of the year. We'll be in all the libraries. But yeah.
Let me ask you a quick question.
Okay.
There's another room like this, just west of here. I don't think that room is underneath the basketball court.
That certainly may be the case.
Maybe if we do it again, we can check on using that room, because there is a big room like this one.
Okay.
And there's another room, I think, upstairs on the 7th floor.
Above the basketballs?
Upstairs is off the table.
But I think we already discussed
But there's
in the
another-
last meeting,
Yep,
we would be rotating between 3 libraries.
Right.
I think that was, and I understand this is like a stopgap measure.
It is, well, yeah, it is maybe important to note in the future, though, if we wanted to, if the same situation arose again. However, I did not book this room, our staff member did, who is not here today, but generally, I've had very easy experiences booking with libraries. The Parks Department is sort of its own separate thing, and they're not, it's not always clear how to go about that process, but duly noted, thank you. I'm not sure that I have, I'm good.
No, I can appreciate everyone having the lighthearted attitude about basketball day here. I think that this is both a learning experience, and I think it's very crucial that we come out to the areas that don't have the libraries directly. I'd like to cover every square inch of the district. So I think it's, like I said, it's a learning experience. We see the issue for future issues now, for future meetings here now, and we're going to accommodate those notes into our planning in the future. You had a question, Mr. Burke?
Just a question for Council Rolikoff. Are we going to talk more about contextual stuff?
Yes.
We are?
Yes.
Okay. Because I didn't understand what you had said about CCPSA oversight versus consent decree. So could you just expand on that when you do the section? That's all.
Sure, or that's not really related to what I planned, but so I'll answer very quickly now if that's all right. Or maybe I should wait. The independent monitoring team is the body that has oversight jurisdiction over implementing the consent decree, and that's sort of just like, it's a process that didn't have all of the community involvement in creating it the same way that the community commission did, and that's a preferred. Did that address your issue? We can talk about it later if it didn't. Sorry.
And I have a second question, maybe to help enhance that. I think there is a little bit of confusion about terminology of what the CCPSA is and what the district council is, and I think if you clarify that might help answer the question more.
Yeah. So here's a clarifying thing. What I learned at that strategy meeting was that things that are strictly under the consent decree's jurisdiction are not under the CCPSA's jurisdiction, the Community Commission's jurisdiction. So the Community Commission has jurisdiction over the police apparatus and the police oversight apparatus. So the CPD, Superintendent Police Board, COPA, and the district council. You vote for the district councilors. The district councilors, in part, nominate the commission, and they have the direct levers of power for the entire city. So yeah, the issue of traffic stops could not both be in the CCPSA and in the consent decree monitoring team simultaneously, and it's preferred that issue stays within the CCPSA rather than with the monitoring team. Okay, thank you.
All right.
Do we know if there's been any progress on that?
The traffic stop, we can talk about it.
Oh, okay.
Thank
I was planning on having a discussion about the impact of crime in the area.
About the what?
Impact of crime in the area, basically the cost, the actual cost per resident, so to speak. However, I keep running into, the deeper I dig, the more and more data pools that I run into, so I don't quite have that together.
It's like going into the weeds, right?
I'm sorry?
Going too deep into the weeds, right?
Well, it's okay, well, it's delineating data and how it relates to every individual and that sort of thing. So unfortunately, I don't have that report available to you, but it is forthcoming. So please keep me on target to get that delivered to you, because I think that's where the bottom line is for a resident. Is, okay, well, crime's an issue, but how big of an issue and what's it costing me? Essentially, it's, you know, it motivates people to hold the powers that be more accountable for one. Plus, it makes them a little bit more active in their community, because the last thing I want to do is make my neighbor have to pay more than they already should, right? So that is going to be forthcoming. So unfortunately, I don't have that. It's probably going to wind up being pieces by the time I'm done. So, all right. So that being said, we'll go ahead and move into the community updates. Councilor Orlikoff.
Sorry, I have a request on the crime report, and it's understood that it may not be fulfilled, which would be fine. But so I believe you were saying you're interested in uncovering the cost per resident of,
Right.
of robbery.
Trying to drill it down to the, and it's not just robbery and crime, but personal property crimes and that sort of thing. So, like I say, you go to get a drink of water and you're faced with an ocean, so to speak.
Yeah.
Understood. So what I would pose as well would be, you know, if you're, are you only looking at robberies, or are you also looking at wage theft and landlord issues of housing? And then I guess the third thing, you know, that I think is also interesting is the various costs associated with policing and courts and jails and prosecution, etc.
I can definitely put that.
But those could be separate reports. I understand you may want to release
Well,
your.
It's like opening a fire hose.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. You have any updates?
And I'm sorry, I'm missing, what is the, and that is so that people will be more informed and hear more? I'm
Right.
missing
It's
that. I'm not connected to that.
it's essentially.
Did people ask for that?
Yeah, this is
I don't recall that.
completely new. I don't remember this coming up in past meetings.
Well, no, it hasn't come up in previous meetings. This is basically like an endeavor that I've taken on.
Okay, well, it sounds, I mean, you yourself said it sounds rather insurmountable, and I almost think that your time might be best used elsewhere. I'm just putting that out there, especially since we've heard multiple times that the data is faulty, inconsistent, and hard. I don't remember what your words were, so I don't know, as a citizen, I don't know if that's what I want to see my district counselors focusing on, because I think we all know the impact of crime, right? I don't need to be told, okay, Allison, this is costing you $25 a day. That's not what I'm here for. So I'm just putting that out there.
Noted.
Yeah.
Okay. I believe our chair had asked me to speak on committees. So yeah, I have no committee updates, but I guess I'd like to take the opportunity to expound on why that is, I guess. So there was a conversation started last meeting, to be totally honest, due to capacity reasons, the committees that I started that were meeting last year, dwindled down, and then there were other things going on. Then it was decided, I was informed by the people that had been attending those meetings that they didn't want to continue having those meetings because they thought that we should be addressing it all together in public, in the official forum. And I found out about that, I think, recently prior to the February meeting. And at the February meeting, that was brought up in public comments. So I will not have any future committee updates. However, I need to have sections in the agenda for public safety and for restorative justice on an ongoing basis. And that's pretty much it. Pretty much whatever I do can fit into those two agenda topics. And they will also be inclusive of whatever issues the community might want to bring at that time.
If I could you repeat those two topics?
Police accountability and restorative justice. So, yeah, thank you. And one other thing.
Sorry.
Yes. Oh.
I'm sorry, just
Okay.
to clarify. So those previous two committees are now, I don't know what word to use, disbanded or defunct or no longer existing?
They're at least inactive. Yeah, I'm not sure if they're officially disbanded, maybe, but they're definitely inactive.
Because personally, I would really like to see progress in both those areas. I mean, not that I'm saying I want to expect progress. I think they're really important, and I've mentioned that to everybody that I've spoken to. So I hope that the work continues in the broader form, because they're really important.
Thank you. I'd like to share one other thing on this topic, which is just about nomenclature. I believe that, I was told by a lawyer in my department that using the term committees is more likely to invite interpretations that would require official government sanctions in terms of things like council votes for membership and official publishing for the Open Meetings Act. So I'm suggesting that, if the police accountability and restorative justice groups ever reform, they will be referred to as working groups. Whether or not that does happen, I would also suggest that any other groupings also be referred to as working groups rather than committees. And again, specifically, my understanding of what I was communicated is that a committee should probably be the membership should probably be officially set by the elected officials, and it would then be a public body subject to various regulations.
I completely agree. I'm sorry, I know public comment is over, but like the elephant in the room is we already have the situation happening. It's true, Adam, with your committee. It's very confusing for people. I mean, you're taking meetings with alders and the commander, which, okay, more power to you, but this is it's like the train has left the station. I mean, we need to kind of bring this back. So I'd like to see more formal movement from the district councilors. Instead of reports, right? Let's coalesce and bring everything back to this meeting.
Yes, that's all.
All right. And for my committee updates, I'll give my time to Mr. Adam Burke, who will give us a report from his previous meeting with volunteer committee that focuses on public safety.
Thank you, Chris. So at noon today, we had a meeting of the 14th District Committee for Public Safety and Policing Initiatives. I presented an update on the refinement of the initiatives that the committee had previously developed based on input from Commander and the 4 alders' offices. And then in the last 2 weeks, I did meet again with the Commander and all 4 of our primary alders. There's a 5th one, but it's too small an area to bother with. I will share a copy of that document with the council for them to consider it. And what I would say, to reiterate, which is in the document, is that our committee is a private committee of people. I won't even say citizens, because there's no requirement to be a U.S. citizen or even a resident of the district for that matter. So it's a group of private people who get together. We've gone to lengths to say in writing and in every engagement that we don't speak for anybody. We have no authority, we have no budget, we have no responsibilities, and we have no accountability. We're just people meeting, and I'm the chairman because the people who were at the first meeting elected me chairman, and I mean, it's as informal as that. So I think there were some other specifics that were raised at the last meeting, which Councilor LeBlanc might be a better place to respond to, but I want to make sure that everybody is clear that the committee is independent from the CCPSA. We provide advice and assistance as we think is right, and the council can take that or disregard it as they think is correct.
Thank you, Mr. Burke.
You have a question?
Yes.
So I really cast doubt on the idea that this is an independent body. I have a relationship with Chloe Vitale, who is the 12th District Councilor on the northwest side, near northwest side. And Adam Burke emailed Chloe last month and said, I am the chairman of the 14th District CCPSA's Community Committee on Public Safety and Policing Initiatives. I live in the 1st Ward. We've been working with the 14th District Commander and the other 3 alders whose wards are in the 14th District. I saw your flyer in Alderman Lascada's newsletter and thought it would be good if we connected and perhaps shared notes. Are you open to that? I've CC'd Chris Laurent, who is the chairman of 14th District CCPSA. So, to me, you know, maybe he's not explicitly saying that he represents this or that body, but he is essentially, you know, reaching out to district councilors under the guise of being some official person with the official logo and a portion of the city star. And then he's meeting right before these meetings and invites people to it that don't come to this meeting. Not everyone. I see a couple of people are here. So to me, you know, if it looks like a duck and quacks like a duck, it is a duck. And to me, yeah, that's what I would say.
May I just respond?
Please.
So I think there are a couple of things that you mentioned. One was the star. So I was informed by the city that it was confusing to use the city logo, that there were no policies set up for the committees in any way, and they were feeling their way, and this was good for everybody. But they thought that it would be better if I didn't use the city logo, which I immediately stopped using. That was 2 months ago, right? So January 6th, I believe, was our meeting, and I didn't use the city logo. So the star, I was informed, is public domain, and all sorts of political candidates, organizations, T-shirts, clubs, stoners, anybody can use the star for any purpose. And so I used that as a placeholder because I didn't have anything else, and then developed the logo that we currently use, which is not related to any city intellectual property. So with respect to saying CCPSA, as we all know, the committee was initiated by Councilor LeBlanc inviting members of the community to meet, which they did, and so I thought that was logical and consistent at the time, but I refrained from using that for a few months. So I'm not sure what the date of that email was. I do remember sending it, but I also never received a reply from the other person. So I think it's interesting that they're sharing information without even giving me the respect of a reply saying, no, I don't think it's appropriate to me, but
January 12th.
just leave that. Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
I would like to say that I had an email about the committee meeting, even though I didn't know anything about the committee. So I don't know how I got on the committee email and knew about the committee meeting before this meeting.
So you didn't sign up for anything?
I've never been to a committee meeting.
The
So I've been to a council meeting, so I'm not really sure how I got it on.
Okay, so that's like a data privacy issue?
No, hold on. I'll just answer
People
that.
are getting emails.
Let me just answer that, because that's an important point. So the only people who are getting emails are ones who personally submitted them to me or put them on a sign-up sheet, and there's no possible way that I would have gotten anybody's email. And if you would like to be removed, just let me know and I'll remove you. But People have responded to me off Reddit
Okay, I haven't,
and off Neighbors.
I don't know who you are, and I assumed that the email came from this body, and that there was a special meeting an hour before, and that's why I attended, because I didn't know what, I was confused as to why I got an email, and I almost even emailed David to say, so is the meeting at 1 or is the meeting at 12? So I know that I have.
From the list?
Well, I don't know, maybe not. Maybe I want to know what you're doing in the committee meetings.
So I think, and I don't think it's anything as malicious as a data privacy issue. I think part of the confusion.
That's not maliciousness, that's just a fact, I'm sorry.
No, I'm sorry, there is not a fact there. No, the only.
Yeah, you cannot
Okay,
email
all right,
people who
order.
are not signed up for your email.
I didn't.
Okay, great, then I think we have to get to the bottom.
I'm sorry, I don't even know the person's name, but if I got their name, I could find out just from my own email history
All right.
how they got added.
We're not going to have back and forth in here. As I was saying, I don't think it's anything as malicious as data privacy issue. I think what may have happened, and I assume that this is what happened, and I think we can all come to an agreement that's more than likely, is we have plenty different sign-in sheets that circulate these meetings. And I think one may have been mistaken for a different item. That's what I want to believe, and I think that we can probably all agree that's probably more likely what happened.
Okay.
I don't think it's any kind of data sharing issue or anything like that.
I will say that if it was a misunderstanding, I get it, but I think that should be very clear when people come in, what it is that they're signing on an email sheet of what I'm signing up for. I assumed what I was getting were these emails, and as someone who's come to these meetings, and we're talking about the committees now, I would rather us not have other committees. Working groups, I think, is fine, because that doesn't hold any kind of weight, to a level, but I would ask that maybe there wouldn't be any other committees, so that I don't waste my time coming to a committee meeting when actually that doesn't have the weight that the CC.
District council.
Yes, I do. The district council.
And like I said, if there's a correction that's needed, please bring it to my attention. I'll see to it that it's me. Because I take ownership in that too. I manage a mailing list. I think my colleague here, he manages one as well. Like I said, I think there's a lot of conflation as far as to who's signing on to which one.
Okay, well, maybe I would like to stay on it, because I'd like to know what is actually being said in the
Right,
committee.
and that's the first step of accountability, is being aware of what's going on. So, like I said, I don't want to believe that there's any kind of malicious activity going on here. I think it, like I said, it probably just conflation of what what sheet you're talking about. Yes, ma'am.
So it's two parts. So the understanding is there will be no more committee meetings for all the reasons said, and moving forward. I'm talking about moving forward, right? Yes.
I don't think we actually discussed getting rid of committees altogether. I mean, it's been brought up, but we haven't come to any kind of decision on that.
So that's what the audience is saying, though. That's your.
I guess I'm asking this genuinely. That was what I thought I heard, and the committee that you were working with and Councilor Orlikoff was working with are, if there is work to be done or business to be done, that it will take place within the full body, both for transparency as well as, I will say, coming, giving time on my Saturday, they're important issues, and anyway, so then a question is, if that is not the case, then what committees are still happening, and who, and then I still have another question, but what committees are still happening?
Well, to answer that question directly, from what I'm gleaning from here, and I'll ask Councilor Orlikoff to confirm or deny or be indifferent about it, are we tabling or shelving the committees that you were overseeing? Is that?
Yeah, I announced at the previous meeting.
No, I'm just, because.
Oh, yeah, like so.
And I mean, I don't have any intentions of getting rid of the Public Safety Committee, and I have my reasons, and I'll discuss them at length with you, and I can share them a little bit further out here. here, I fail to see what having a committee that basically binds no one to any kind of interaction or attendance to, what the existence of said committee would be an issue.
Now it's just gotten further confusing, because if under the name of an official entity that CCPSA is and the district council meetings are, to work on public safety, which like we all care about, that's why we're here, we just have different perspectives about how this should be gone about. But if, for example, like what happened before, in using formal powers to work with others who have official roles and powers, such as alder people and the commander, that is then outside of the process that is our whole body, and who are indicating that they want it within this setting. They're not saying we're not interested or we don't care, just that if there is work to be done, then let's do it here. And I will say for myself, I want to make sure that it still has the intent of what this body is for. Because we still have CAPS meetings. And of course, anyone can still go to the police district, ask for meetings, so on and so on. The point is, under the title, the power, the connections of official bodies such as district council and CCPSA, because that's not the intent.
I may not be speaking. Okay, I need to mark that I have something for this topic. I recognize she said she had a second point and there was another hand, so I didn't.
No,
I just wanted to second what she was saying. I think the point is, this is only my second meeting, and what I understand is that this committee that met an hour before our meeting is undermining the work that is supposed to be done in this group. And so I would just like to, just support what you were saying, others were saying about not wanting that committee to meet outside of this group here.
Okay, well, I'm going to have to inquire because you piqued my interest. How is that undermining what we're doing?
Go ahead, Sally.
My understanding is that this committee is pushing buying more helicopters as a primary goal with the alderman and with the commander Linus. And that, I was at the meeting where that decision was made. It was made in the final 5 minutes after Adam had talked, with a few interruptions, but had basically talked for 45 minutes. There was no time for somebody like me to say, I don't think getting helicopters and drones is our priority to be taken to the alderman and the commander. But that's my understanding, and in fact, I think you said that today in the meeting, that is what he is pushing. And that's why I want stuff brought to this meeting, where there's time to discuss it and have the councilors vote on it.
Right, well, and that's essentially how this all works, how this all comes together.
This was done totally separate from this council meeting. We've never discussed helicopters in this council meeting as our priority to take to the police and all. But that's what Adam is doing. If I'm not misunderstanding what he said today.
Could I just,
one example.
I don't want to interrupt you, but would you like me to respond? So, I think that's just an important point, is that the committee is working to get input from the community, has welcomed more questions and ideas consistently, but that we have no power, no authority other than our voices. And so helicopters as one example of things that were mentioned in various meetings, but there are 5 pages of them. But my understanding is that this council has taken no position on any policing initiatives with respect to public safety have with accountability, for example, on contextual stops, which I completely support. And so I don't want anybody to mix up the process of the committee talking about things, getting input, and even checking with our elected officials on their opinions on things, and the decisions of the council, which require a vote of the councilors, and always happen in a scheduled public meeting. So those are really two separate things. And as I said earlier today, that I'd be providing a copy of the document from the committee meeting to the council for their consideration or disposal as they see fit.
Does that address your concern, Ms. Hamer?
No, because the committee, oh, I'm sorry, does anyone else want to?
No, but I think you've heard from 6 people who roughly make up 50% of the audience that there are some concerns here.
Well,
So, and I,
noted.
right,
Like I
okay,
said-
awesome. So I think that at the next meeting and in between now and then, like, there's a lot of work and discussion yet to happen. So that's kind of what I'm expecting.
Okay, can I would like to jump in. We'll be hopefully brief. First I will acknowledge what our chair, Councilor Laurent, and also his concerned, resident Adberg have said in terms of, there's nothing against neighbors meeting. Okay, so that is always fine, and talking about stuff. I do think that there were specific points raised by people here that do raise concerns that it doesn't need to be malicious, but I guess the fact that somebody, and I agree with the likely scenario posed by my co-counselor, that it was an accidental sign-up. You likely may have signed a list that ended up being Adam's list without knowing Adam. I think that in and of itself poses a problem, in the same way that, there was some conversation about the logos, but I also think the whole manner of signups and meetings directly prior to this creates an overall impression that is confusing and does, directly relate the committee to the district council. So number one, the signups, 2, the physical, and then 3rd as well. I have not been able to have any inclusion of any official district council materials in any of the 32nd Ward's official activities. However, they have included Adam's community committee multiple times in their newsletter, website, etc. I find that to be highly problematic. That's about it. And yeah, and then so ultimately, also just to recap what people had said, the problem is that, it's not that, it's not necessarily that people are saying that the council made a decision that the council didn't make. However, the council's official decisions don't really matter officially. They only matter insofar as they're meaningful within the community. So there's just as much danger of somebody claiming to represent the community or act on behalf of the community, whether that's in regards to helicopters or whatever. That's as much of a danger. It doesn't matter whether you're saying there was a vote by the council or not, because that has no bearing on the work that we do, essentially.
I'll say, I was confused. I came here at noon today, thinking that the meeting had been at noon, yeah.
Did you sign up to that list that you were for?
I sign sheets. I've been an organizer a long time, and I sign a sheet when it's there, even if I've signed it 100 times before. I do it just, so I don't have a problem with being on it, but I was very confused. Because I know the meetings are normally at 1.
It might be semantics, but I think even wording it as a committee, if you word it as a working group and you're reaching out to the aldermen, it might appear differently, or to residents. If Orlikoff is saying that he has working groups, it might behoove the committee to call themselves a working group instead of a committee. That, again, it might not mean anything to committee, but it does to those who might confuse an official committee with official business with officials.
Okay, sorry. Let me recap finally. So, I understanding that
neighbors can share their, their concerns and their ideas at any time. The issues that I think are being expressed relate to the confusion surrounding the committee in relation to the district council, and also their concerns with regard to the representation of the community within the activities of that committee.
Yes.
That's it.
Could we get a vote by the councilors here, or maybe we should wait till next?
I think we should probably wait, and there's a couple reasons. First of all, so we have if it should come into a tie, we have a tie-breaking vote for number one.
Yeah.
Number two, I don't think that it's good posturing or good governance to sit here and get information and then 5 seconds later vote on it. I think it gives everybody an opportunity to cool down, take a little bit of the emotion out of it, do some research. You don't like that, but
No, I don't like your research. I like research, for sure.
By the way, Tanya, do you need help with your research?
I've done tons of research in the past.
I mean, I have too. I was just wondering if you need the help, I'm available.
I appreciate
committee.
that. But it gives us a little bit more time to digest and to basically vet out what the outstanding
Can we
impacts
get it
are.
on the agenda for the next meeting?
Okay, thank you.
And just to be clear, what would you like to call that topic? Committees, question mark, or?
State of the committees.
Okay, yeah, no. These meetings are, trust me, I get a lot, but you guys, hopefully everyone here is getting more than I am. And I want to make certain that not only you're heard, but this is in action going on as well.
Marla has a different topic.
No, it's connected, I'm sorry, I know we want to move on, but I just want to say, I'm all for, we don't take a vote here, it allows other people to get information and have other, that there's a process before the vote happens. I just want to make sure that we're not only kind of talking semantics in terms of community versus working group, we call it a PPM element, like that there isn't anything being done on behalf of an official body that doesn't come back to the full body before any decision is made or any other actions taken, such as public action or meeting with elected officials or commanders or something like that. So whatever you want to call it, just that if people meet, they want to come up with things, great, bring it back to the group, for the full group to weigh in on, and then go from there. But that's just for clarification, so we don't finish something and then we're like 2 months down the road, we're like, wait a minute, the working group is doing the same thing that we weren't comfortable with back in March. So I just, that's why.
Right, basically delineate a conflation of
Yes.
terminology. It's the intent and the procedure. I get it. That's what I'm leaning. Yes.
Okay, sorry. So I just want to clarify.
My hand is raised.
Wait, Adam.
All right.
So it's like if you want to do things as a private citizen, great. But if you're having your meetings right before ours, and your sign-in sheet is like right next to like the official meeting sign-in sheet, that is objectively conflicting with what's happening in this meeting. And so if you want to have your meetings, go for it, but maybe do it somewhere else where it's not here right before. That's my thoughts.
Mr. Burke, you had something?
Yeah, but I think that's a good point. So I just want to clarify a couple of things. So I'm sorry, I'm just trying to make eye contact. So what I heard you say is that, and I don't want to put words in your mouth, but it's the gist of what I heard you say was that whatever happens outside the council should be presented to the council for their consideration and the public process that they go through. And my understanding is that that is what's happening. So that whether you call it a working group or a committee, which is what the statute calls it, or a club or a group of neighbors or whatever, that's the intent, and in fact that is what's happening. As I said in the meeting, which I'm not sure if you heard, that whenever I'm meeting with the alders or the commander that I always make clear in writing that we have no power, no authority. We're just presenting community ideas for exploration, and we have no ability to implement anything or control anything. So that's just one thing. And the second thing is, and I think what you were just asking is, am I doing that consistently? And the answer would be, I think we're all learning on this, and I may have not done that the first time, but certainly the last couple times.
We'll find out.
Good. And then to your point about separating the committee from the council meeting, I think what everybody experienced in the meeting that we just had is that I was trying very much to move it along so that we could finish, so that we could make room for the council and have no confusion between the two. And certainly our conversations went longer, but I tried very hard to do that. But on the other hand, we asked the group at our very first meeting if that was a good time for people to meet, and what we heard back that it was, because it was convenient that they could come for the first and then stay for the second. So if the people who participate in the meeting want to have it at a different time, I'm open to that, because I'm certainly not a constraint on that point. But that was something that was actually discussed by the group at the first meeting.
All right,
I have a quick question. I came in January.
One second, Joe. I'm going to ask that we close it out with this particular question, okay? Because we kind of spent quite a bit of.
I have a quick question. I came to the first meeting in January because I saw it in Alderman Spada's newsletter.
Mm-hmm.
Was that, and I went to both meetings, but how long has this been going on, like these two meetings? Was that?
Well, we started our meetings in May. The district council meetings began in May of last year. Shortly after we were sworn into office, within weeks.
Okay.
Like, within 2 weeks of being sworn in, we had our first meeting.
And how about the committee?
I'll let Mr. Burke, he kind of runs that, because.
When did that start?
Okay, so this is my recollection, and I think it's correct. So I believe in the October council meeting, Councilor Laurent suggested people interested in a public safety committee could meet at a location that he provided. We did meet in late October, I believe. I want to say the 26th, but I'm happy to check on my phone and tell anybody who's interested.
No, that's sufficient. Okay.
And then based on that, we got our act together, and I know we definitely had a meeting before the December meeting, and I think we had one in November as well. So if I remember correctly, it was we had our first meeting, which was sort of like a formation meeting at the library before November council meeting. That's my recollection.
Thank you.
All right, with that being said, we're going to move down our agenda. It's too pretty of a day for everybody who's sitting in this room in line. All right, let Councilor Holocaust talk a little bit more about the accountability, evidence-based community safety, and restorative justice aspects that he would like to get amended into the agenda.
Sure. Yeah. I do not want police accountability to be combined with restorative justice. I think there should be separate titles. So I'll push this up. But I'll start with restorative justice because it'll be much quicker. I was hoping for another handout that I haven't seen, but a report was just issued by the Chicago Appleseed Foundation looking at the restorative justice community courts. We have one of those right in our backyard, the Avondale Restorative Justice Community Court, which sits right at Central Park, housed in like one of the basilicas up there, and going to diversity. So what is the Restorative Justice Community Court? Restorative Justice courts take there are certain parameters for what cases they can take. They're supposed to be mostly non-violent offenses and mostly youth offenders, like about 18 to 25. And So cases can be referred from the criminal system to the restorative justice system, which is a subset in Cook County, set up by Chief Judge Tim Evans. And they set up a program in collaboration with the individual and the community, which provides a restorative path and different tasks and obligations and parameters for them to complete. And they do that in coordination with case managers as well as peace circles. And this is where the community comes in. So my question to you, everyone here today, and you can also ask your friends or anybody else you know, are you interested in being part of a peace circle on the Avondale Restorative Justice Community Court? And this is something that evidence shows reduces crime. So a way that you can directly reduce crime in our neighborhood would be to join a peace circle at the Avondale Court. Why is that? The recidivism rates for those entering the restorative justice court, recidivism is a measure of after someone exits the criminal justice system, do they return into it? Basically, are they apprehended again, accused or committed of an additional crime in the future? So if there is recidivism, that means after someone's let go, then they're arrested again. If there's no recidivism, that means that they go on without further criminalization. So the recidivism rates in the community court are 13%, compared to in the control study group in the criminal courts, the recidivism rate is 65% for these comparables. So that is an 80% reduction in recidivism per the research that came out last week. So anybody who is concerned about crime, what you can do immediately to reduce crime is to join a peace circle, and what that does is it basically allows the program to take on more cases because they need the community peace circles in order to allow people to move through this process. So you're an integral part of that process, and you will directly be reducing recidivism by 80%. All the people who are arrested, if you don't want them to commit another crime 65% of the time, join the Avondale Community Court. You can reduce crime by 80%. So nothing in the world is more effective than an 80% reduction in crime, and every single person here can help that. Any questions on restorative justice?
So I'm assuming they're comparing apples to apples, right? Okay.
Yeah, normalized control study.
Yeah.
Right.
Do you sign up?
How do you sign up? That's a great question. You could look up the website for the Avondale Community Court, or you could talk to me and I could help facilitate that. I visited the court once before and had a great time there. Yeah. Sorry, I don't have a more specific answer.
Okay, we bring that with it.
Okay, cool. And then on to the main meat of what I have prepared for today is relating to police accountability as well as public safety, but the traffic stops. So as I talked about before, this council has taken a leading position in advocating to stop the CPD practice of prioritizing pretextual traffic stops. Pretextual means that the reason they're doing the stop is not the reason that they claim allows them to do the stop. So if there's air freshener, that they can stop you for air freshener because they say it impedes your view. So if they stop you for air freshener, but they actually don't care, they have no intention of writing you a ticket for the air freshener, it would be a pretext for trying to search you for other things, whether that's drugs or guns or something else that they might have done. So I tried to pass out this policy brief to folks. This is something that I will be using to organize within the district councils across the city. This topic, as we said, there is a community group, the Free to Move Chicago Coalition, and they have taken the lead on this issue, but since it's for the CCPSA, it makes a lot of sense for the district councils to be involved. There is one current present ask for everyone in the community, which is signing a petition. If we collect 2,000 signatures, we will get a hearing with the CCPSA, the Community Commission for Public Safety and Accountability. So we've begun collecting those signatures so that we can have that hearing. There was also a report, I believe I mentioned this before, from Block Club this past week showing that there are police officers who are assigned to different beats and things. The police officers who are supposed to respond to the top priority 911 calls when they're received from OEMC, that's their job. They're supposed to go to the biggest priority calls. They spend less than half of their time actually responding to those top priority calls. And at the same time, 51% of the calls are not even reported or completed. The title of that report directly references that they are doing traffic stops instead of responding to 911 priority calls. So there's a clear, so some of the outcomes that we will win when we do end pretextual traffic stops, we will reduce harmful interactions between police officers and the public. All these sort of numbers that I put in here are referencing the duties and obligations of the district councils and the community commission in terms of, So number 2 says, reduce response times for priority 911 calls. So this is a huge goal. This is something that a lot of people have talked about in the community and within the district council spaces. And there may be different approaches, but it's certainly clear from all of the evidence and data that the investment in traffic stops is not an effective or an efficient one, and it's not one that's being called for by the community. Essentially, it's a waste. As I said before, you could add as many officers as you want, but if they're not responding to the priority 911 calls, then that's irrelevant. So we have to stop them from doing things that are proven to be ineffective and make sure that they're doing the basic police work, like you said, which means responding to priority 911 calls. That's the very first thing we should do. Bring police priorities in line with community concerns, improve effectiveness of resource allocation within CPD, improve relationships between CPD and communities, and protect people's rights while promoting greater equality and equity. Lastly, reduce the city's liability for misconduct. I would ask folks to please sign the petition if you are able. Let me know if you have a copy that you want to bring to your church or club or block or something like that. There also are sheets in the QR code as far as giving a brief video testimonial with your story. And then lastly, I guess to recap, in the 14th district, specifically, you were 7.8 times more likely to be stopped if you're driving while black than while white, and 2.4 times more likely to be stopped if you're driving while Latino than white. And this was confirmed to me directly by Commander Sessa of the 14th District, who said that people of different races basically is its own reason to pull someone over if the police officer believes that they don't belong in a certain area, was the language that he used. It's a problem and it has no public safety benefit. It actually has decreased, it has actually decreased the amount of, as traffic stops increased 900%, the amount of traffic stops for reckless driving have actually decreased. And in the places that have banned pretextual traffic stops, including Los Angeles and San Francisco, they have seen a reduction in crime and in dangerous driving as a result. So we will be safer directly by stopping this practice, and it will allow our police to follow the priority calls that our community is concerned with. All right, thank you. Any questions? Please sign the petition if you have it. Let me know if you want to take one. Thanks.
All right. You have a question?
I just wanted to clarify the answer that I had given previously, if that's okay.
Please.
So I just went into the records to refresh my memory. So the first meeting we had where the committee was formed was on October 28th, and then I provided a record of that to the council. We didn't have the first meeting of the council until December 2nd, but in the record of the meeting, I proposed future activities which included sign-up sheet. It also included that we proposed to meet each month for up to 45 minutes, 1 hour before and in the same location as the regularly scheduled meeting. While this is expected to maximize participation in the committee, alternative scheduling can also be considered based on community input. It's just that specific point. And so that's what we proposed before we ever had our first meeting, and we never had any comment of it.
Thank you, Mr. Burke.
Something I forgot. Thank you, sorry. We had a victory with arbitration, so, that's... And lastly, I'm prepared to do outreach at the Logan Square Farmers Market, so if you would like to accompany me on a nice Sunday, let me know. Thanks. Sorry.
No, just to be clear, when you say we,
I mean, the people and the.
No,
I don't mean, I'm not speaking
Not for the body, you're right.
That's been a problem that Chris has raised before. I'm not speaking for Councilor Roth when I'm speaking.
Or for this governing body in a whole. I don't speak on behalf of the government.
I'm speaking on behalf of the community.
There you go. Thank you. I appreciate you clarifying, because just as we won't comment or endorse any kind of political candidate or any ballot initiative, it's primarily because, hey, this is an official government body. Your tax dollars, believe it or not, help pay for this. And I think everybody deserves that level of transparency.
Do people know what arbitration is? Are people familiar with it?
We're gonna move along. You're more than welcome. All right. So special meeting with Commander Lennis is our next the next item on the agenda, and then we're almost out of here. So I know everybody wants to stick around inside all day with, and hear the basketball. But I want to be out that door. So as I mentioned previously, I scratched the surface on it. I met with Commander Lennis, and her scheduling kind of makes it difficult to meet on the weekends. And like I said, I'll take a lot of responsibility on us meeting on the weekends, primarily because weekends work best for me. I work the 9 to 6 every day, and I think I've seen a picture of my wife. But a lot of it, like I said, it falls on my shoulders, because I know that my colleagues accommodate my schedule by agreeing to do the Saturdays. And I think it works. I think it's worked rather well.
The fewer night meetings, the better.
Can I ask that you really press the commander to have the meeting on a Saturday for the community? I mean, is there a way? I understand she's busy, she has a family, but so is everybody. And I think if there's a way for the council to really push for that, that would be appreciated.
I can request it. And one of the things that we have to remember, I don't have the authority to tell the commander what to do.
Right, but if you can really push the idea that
Right. No, and I appreciate it, and I hear exactly what, trust me, it worked out wonderful for me on Saturday. That means less flex that I have to do on my end, but like I said, it's not all about me.
Would off-weekends work? So if she can't meet on the weekends, what about like in the evening? So if you're-
That's what we're leading into, to where like I don't want to do it like 2 o'clock in the afternoon and punch a hole in everybody's afternoon and work day.
But we'll do it. Don't make decisions for us. We'll come.
Put an evening.
We'll do it.
I think he's got something to show. Did the commander share any potential?
Well, no, basically this is the inception. She said, hey, look, I'm open to meeting, it's just Saturdays are difficult. Weekends are difficult for me. And so we're kind of polling the audience, saying, hey, what works for everybody? And I'm flexible, and that's what I was leading up to, is I'm flexible to sit there and adapt my schedule to work accordingly. Because like I said, I know a lot of concessions have been made to benefit me by having Saturday.
So is 6:30, what time would work for you? 6:30 or 7?
6:30, I could definitely be just about anywhere in the city at 6:30.
Okay, so we're looking at a 6:30 weekday for this option. Otherwise, or asking the commander to make our regular meetings.
So.
And we need advance notice, not 1 or 2 days before.
Right, and I think I beat that dead horse last month. If it were up to me, we'd have next month's agenda out tomorrow.
She's not any better on Sunday than Saturday, did you know that?
There's a chance I might run into her this evening, I don't know, at another event, but this is an open dialogue that I want to have. Like, I'd like to see as much as we possibly can, so we can say, hey, Commander, this is what our concerns are, because according to the, basically our job description here for the district council is to work directly with the police leadership, bringing communities' concerns to them, and coming together and working in a partnership to solving those issues.
But they're not meeting with us, but they're meeting with the other committee. So that's why we're trying to do this.
I met her. I've met with her.
Huh?
I've met with her. And also, I think that, and I'm not saying that you're throwing jabs or anything like that. I think that Mr. Burke and the Public Safety Committee, for lack of better terms here, I think he's very accommodating to her schedule as well, rather than us determining like you will show up. I'm not a judge.
We pay her salary though.
True.
question on the same topic, but I'll also respond to that. So just, is the council now saying that the commander is welcome to a regular monthly council meeting?
Just when we ask.
Personally,
Just when we ask.
Yeah, I believe you weren't at that meeting. We did discuss wanting to bring her in to answer specific
so
questions.
personally, I think that's the best outcome. And second, to the point that you just made, Mr. Chairman, not only was I working with the commander's schedule, but both of the times that I had meetings, the commander's office reached out to me and rescheduled those meetings to fit her schedule because she's responding to far more important things. So the fact that I live 2 blocks away from the headquarters and to walk there, I think, has made those meetings possible, which otherwise would have been canceled.
I also say over here.
Yes.
I just want to stress, like, we've said we would like that the request was made for Saturday. If not, I think 6:30 could work. The time is going to change, so we'll be like later if that helps. If that helps at all, we want that advance notice, and this is supposed to be our request, and that there is clear understanding when we invite the commander as opposed to a recurring thing. But I just want to just push a little around her schedule because we all, many people here, month after month after month, are taking time. She's a servant, right? I mean, I say that with, respectfully, that it is our tax money. All the people come on Saturdays, weeknights, whatever, and I think with, enough notice, giving her a month of notice. I don't know, I work morning, noon, night, Saturday, Sunday, whatever is most needed within reason, but certainly with a month's notice, and I just, if not, maybe we could start talking to our alder people about requesting that the commander is here, because they were also part of wanting this body to exist.
Right.
We just want it to be a success.
Right, and here's the thing, nobody's wrong in this conversation. There's dialogue that we're having, there's no wrong points being made. Like I said, the thing about it is, yes, she is a public servant, just as Council Rollicott is a public servant. We do not possess the authority to tell officer whomever, much less the commander. Right, we can advocate for it, absolutely. Just like I can't call up the mayor and say, we need you here right now. It's just not going to happen. I don't have the authority to command the mayor to do anything. So just so we're clear, like, hey, look, we can always put requests in, and I think, believe it or not, the soft bullets hurt in the long run. You got to sit there and say, hey, look, we'd really like you to do this. We'd really like you to do this. Hey, we'd really like to show your support.
Can I just make a suggestion? I don't know how good this is, but if we, let's say the next meeting is April, if we say, can we meet in June, and these are our top 5 questions that we would like to ask you. So she would be prepared with answers if needed, and everyone would be, we wouldn't go off topic, her time wouldn't be wasted with other things that come up, and just say, these are our top 5 or 10 or whatever it is, so that we're prepared to give her, and when I say we, I mean the council is prepared to give her some, at least that might encourage her then to come, and then maybe have an open discussion at some point, but at least she would have, prepared something or whatever that we might want answers for. I don't know, it might be a bad suggestion, but I don't know, I'm just saying, might be more encouraging of her to come if she knows what we're wanting from her.
I can't speak to how that might affect her decisions or availability, but just to say that previously, when it was on the agenda to discuss how to work with the commander in this space, I think in December, that was a discussion that came up in the meeting, and then we planned to have a discussion around it in January. In January, with that on the agenda, we did not come up with a list of specific questions. At that time, people said that they wanted to be able to ask questions at the space. I'm just rehashing what happened before. That doesn't mean that you're wrong or that we should change it potentially. That was it.
Okay, thank you.
think we can do both, provide her list of our suggestions.
So, okay, so we know that Saturday doesn't work. Oh, sorry.
Well, I mean, we'll see if we can get her to flex.
Saturday was not what she wanted, right? If we, okay, I think ideally for the people who are coming here Saturday, we would like her to attend a Saturday. But so the other opportunities we're talking about 6:30 on a weekday, or is Sunday something that is desirable for the people here, or is that any different for you, or we don't know about the public matter? It's not.
Right. I think there's too many other variables to uncork that one.
Okay. So, I mean, moving forward, I guess there's two things. One is to ask the commander to try to make one of our scheduled meetings, and also to ask, for you specifically, to ask the commander what are some potential dates. Okay, if you can find dates that she would agree to that are for the weekday or Sunday, can you please do that, I guess, 2 months in advance, so that we'll have...
So we're aiming for May.
Yes. Yes. And that will give everyone plenty of time to prepare other things and to announce it at our future meetings. Okay, thank you.
All right, with that, I think we've gone through our agenda. Location for our next meeting?
Let me grab the schedule. Location for the next meeting is the Logan Square Library at 3030 West Fullerton.
Okay, and that will be at 1 p.m. On
Saturday, April
6th. So hopefully we'll have plenty of time to get notice and agenda out to you with all these items and more. Can I get a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Motion granted. Adjourn. It is now 5 minutes to 3. 2:55. I wanted to make certain we got
Oh, thank you. Thank you.